The text message from my son Marcus came through at 9:47 p.m. on Thanksgiving Eve. Dad, don't come tomorrow. I'm sick, really sick. Just stay home this year. Please. I stare at those words on my phone screen, sitting in my workshop behind the house I'd built with my own hands 30 years ago. My son, the one who called me every Sunday without fail, who hadn't missed a Thanksgiving dinner in 33 years, who'd been planning this meal for 2 months, telling me he was making my mother's sweet potato pie recipe for the first time. That son was telling me not to come. Something was wrong, dead wrong. And by tomorrow night, I'd discover just how wrong things really were. But if I'd listened to that text, if I'd stayed home like he asked, my son would be dead by Christmas morning. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're listening from in the comment below. This story gets darker than you can imagine. Let me take you back to the beginning to understand how a successful man ends up chained in his own basement while his wife's family celebrates above him. My name is Robert Chin. I'm 68 years old, retired master carpenter, widower for 5 years now. My wife Linda passed from cancer, and it nearly killed me too. But we raised one son, Marcus, and he was everything we could have hoped for. Smart, kind, hardworking. Got his MBA from University of Washington, landed a job at Microsoft as a product manager, making 6 figures by the time he was 30. 3 years ago, Marcus met Vanessa Clark at some tech networking event in Bellevue. She was beautiful, I'll give her that. Tall, elegant, worked in marketing. But from the first time I met her, something fell off. Not wrong exactly, just calculated. The way she touched Marcus's arm, the way she laughed at his jokes, the way her eyes would flicker to his watch, his car, the details of his life that spoke to money. Linda had been gone 2 years by then. I didn't trust my instincts anymore. Grief does that to you. Makes you doubt yourself. So when Marcus told me they were engaged after just 8 months, I swallowed my concerns and smiled. Dad, she makes me happy, he said, gripping my shoulder. I know Mom would have loved her. I wanted to believe that. God, how I wanted to believe it. The wedding was enormous. Vanessa's family insisted. The Clarks were old Seattle money, the kind that's been here since before the Space Needle. Her father, Richard Clark, owned a commercial real estate company. Her mother, Patricia, was on every charity board in the city. Her brother, Derek, was a lawyer who specialized in asset management and estate planning. They paid for half the wedding, which should have been generous. But I remember standing at the reception, watching Richard Clark glad-hand the guests, and thinking, this man just bought something. Marcus and Vanessa moved into a beautiful craftsman house in Wallingford. Marcus had saved for years, put down $200,000 cash, mortgage for the rest. That house was his pride. He renovated the kitchen himself, learning from me, refinished the hardwood floors on his hands and knees, planted a Japanese maple in the front yard because Linda had loved them. The first year of marriage seemed fine. Happy photos on social media. Sunday phone calls where Marcus talked about work, home improvement projects, plans for the future. But I noticed small things. Vanessa was always too busy when I invited them for dinner. They never came to my house anymore. I always drove to them. She's not comfortable in workshops, Dad, Marcus explained once. All the tools and sawdust. She's more of a refined spaces person. Refined spaces. My workshop, where I taught my son to build birdhouses and bookcases, wasn't refined enough. The second year, things changed. Marcus's voice on our Sunday calls got quieter, more careful. He stopped talking about work projects and started talking about Vanessa's projects, her family's projects. Richard's helping us with some financial planning, he said one Sunday. Tax strategies, investment restructuring. He's really smart about this stuff, Dad. You're already smart about money, son. You've been managing your own finances since college. Yeah, but this is next-level stuff. Trust optimization, estate planning. Richard says it's never too early to protect assets. Asset protection. From what? From whom? But I didn't ask. Didn't want to seem like the paranoid old man. Then came the real changes. Vanessa's family started showing up at Marcus's house. A lot. Derek moved into their guest room temporarily while his condo was being renovated. 3 months later, he was still there. Patricia started dropping by every weekend, redecorating, making suggestions, treating the house like her own project. It's nice, Marcus said when I mentioned it. Family is important to Vanessa. And honestly, Dad, the house does look better with Patricia's touches. I bit my tongue. That house had looked perfect because Marcus made it perfect. With his own hands. With my help. Now it was getting Patricia's touches. By the third year, the Sunday calls became bi-weekly. Then monthly. While I talked to Marcus, Vanessa was always there in the background. I could hear her, commenting on everything he said, correcting him, steering the conversation. Marcus, don't bore your father with work stuff. Tell him about the fundraiser we're planning. Marcus, remember we have that thing with my parents. Don't talk too long. Marcus, let me say hi to Robert. She started calling me Robert, never Dad. Always pleasant. Always cold. This past October, 2 months before Thanksgiving, Marcus called me on a Tuesday morning. I was in the workshop building a chess set from walnut and maple. The call came from his work number, not his cell. Dad, his voice was strange. Tight. Can you talk? Always, son. What's wrong? Silence. Then nothing. Nothing's wrong. I wanted to hear your voice. Check in. Marcus, you sound off. Is everything okay at home? Yeah, everything's fine. Great. Vanessa's family is planning this huge Thanksgiving thing at our place. Her parents, her brother, her aunt and uncle from San Francisco. Big production. That sounds crowded. It is, but it's important to her. And I was thinking, Dad, maybe this year you could come. Be part of it. I know you usually do your own thing. I'd love to come, son. Really. The relief in his voice was palpable. Because Vanessa wasn't sure you'd want to. Said you're more of a quiet dinner type. I'd love to spend Thanksgiving with you, Marcus. Haven't seen you in person since July. July. God, has it been that long? His voice cracked slightly. I'm sorry, Dad. Things have been busy. Really busy. We talked for 20 more minutes. The longest conversation we'd had in months. He told me about a new project at work, a product launch that was going well. His garden, how the Japanese maple was thriving. Normal things. Father-son things. But underneath it all, I heard something I hadn't heard in Marcus's voice since he was a child afraid of the dark. Fear. When we hung up, I stood in my workshop, sawdust on my hands, and knew with absolute certainty that my son was in trouble. I just didn't know what kind of trouble. Not yet. The weeks leading up to Thanksgiving passed slowly. I called Marcus 3 times. Each time, Vanessa answered his cell phone. Oh, Robert, he's in a meeting. I'll have him call you back. He's working late tonight. I'll tell him you called. He's helping Derek with something. Can I take a message? He never called back. I tried his work number once. His assistant said he was working from home that week. I called the home number. Vanessa answered. Robert, hi. Marcus is actually out running errands. This week has been crazy with Thanksgiving prep. You understand. When would be a good time to catch him? Oh, you know Marcus. Always on the go. But don't worry, we'll see you Thursday. 4 o'clock sharp. Don't be late. Patricia is very particular about timing. She hung up before I could respond. I spent Tuesday and Wednesday before Thanksgiving in my workshop, but I couldn't concentrate. I kept thinking about that phone call in October. The fear in Marcus's voice. The way Vanessa had suddenly been so insistent that I come to Thanksgiving after years of subtle exclusion. Wednesday night, I was in bed by 10, planning to get up early to make my mother's cranberry orange relish, the one Linda had perfected. My contribution to the meal. But sleep wouldn't come. At 9:47 p.m., my phone lit up. Text from Marcus. Dad, don't come tomorrow. I'm sick. Really sick. To stay home this year. Please. I called immediately. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Same thing. Texted back. What's wrong? Can I bring you anything? What kind of sick? 3 minutes passed. Then, stomach flu. Bad. Don't want you to catch it. Stay away. I'll call you next week. Stomach flu. Marcus had an iron stomach. In 33 years, I'd seen him sick maybe 3 times. And he'd never, ever canceled plans with me because of illness. I tried calling again. Voicemail. Tried the house line. No answer. Tried Vanessa's cell. Voicemail. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, and remembered something my father told me when I was young. Son, when someone you love tells you to stay away, that's exactly when you need to get closer. I could have gone to bed. Could have accepted the text at face value. Could have spent Thanksgiving alone, heating up a TV dinner, trusting that my son was fine. But I'm a father. And fathers know when their children are lying. I got dressed in the dark. Jeans, flannel shirt, work boots. Grabbed my truck keys and my phone. It was 10:15 p.m. when I backed out of my driveway. Marcus's house in Wallingford was 40 minutes away. I make it by 11, just to check, just to see for myself. If everything was fine, I'd leave. Wouldn't even knock on the door. But if my instincts were right, if something was wrong, the drive felt longer than 40 minutes. Seattle streets were quiet. Most people were home, preparing for tomorrow, families gathering, pies baking. Normal Thanksgiving Eve things. I wasn't doing normal things. I was driving through the dark because my son had lied to me. I pulled onto Marcus's street at 10:52 p.m. The Craftsman house sat halfway down the block, that Japanese maple visible in the front yard, even in the dark. I parked 3 houses down, killed the engine, and watched. The house was lit up, every window glowing. Not the soft light of a sick person resting. Bright, active light. Through the front windows, I could see movement, shadows crossing back and forth. People were up, multiple people. I grabbed my phone and texted Marcus, just checking in. Feel better, son. I watched the house. Waited. 30 seconds. A minute. No response. Then I saw it. Through the kitchen window on the side of the house. A silhouette. Someone holding a phone. They looked at it, then tossed it onto the counter without responding. Someone had just read my text and ignored it. I got on my truck. The November air was cold and damp, typical Seattle weather. I walked down the sidewalk, hands in my pockets, try to look casual. Just an old man out for a late walk. As I got closer to Marcus's house, I heard it. Music. Loud music. Some kind of classic rock, Led Zeppelin maybe, thumping through the walls. I could smell food. Turkey. Someone was cooking turkey at 11 o'clock at night. The house had a side gate that led to the backyard. I'd installed that gate myself, helped Marcus stain it. I knew it didn't latch properly, never had. You had to lift it slightly while pushing. I glanced around. The street was empty. I walked to the gate, lifted, pushed. It swung open silently. The backyard was dark, but light spilled from the back windows. I stayed close to the fence line, moving slowly. I'm 68, but I spent 40 years in construction. I know how to move quietly on uncertain ground. I reached the back porch. Through the kitchen window, I could see them clearly now. Richard Clark, Vanessa's father, leaning against the granite counter Marcus had saved for months to afford. He was drinking a beer, laughing at something. Patricia Clark, Vanessa's mother, was at the stove, basting a turkey. Derek Clark, Vanessa's brother, sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open, papers spread around him. And Vanessa, she stood at the island, pouring wine into expensive glasses, the ones Linda and I had given Marcus as a housewarming gift. They were having a party, a pre-Thanksgiving celebration, in Marcus's house, while he was supposedly sick. But Marcus wasn't there. I moved along the back of the house, looking through each window. Dining room, table set for 6, candles lit. Living room, more people I didn't recognize. 2 couples, well-dressed, laughing, drinks in hand. The furniture had been rearranged. The photos Marcus had hung, pictures of him and Linda, pictures of us as a family, were gone, replaced with abstract art. I checked every window on the ground floor. 8 people total. No Marcus. My heart was pounding now. Where was my son? If he wasn't sick, if his in-laws were throwing a party in his house without him, where the hell was he? I moved to the side of the house. There was a basement in this Craftsman. Marcus had converted it into a home gym and workshop, following in his old man's footsteps. Workbench, tools, weights, punching bag. We'd worked on it together 2 years ago, before Vanessa started taking over. The basement had small windows at ground level, the kind with metal grates for security. I knelt beside one. Dirt and wet grass soaked through my jeans. I peered through. The basement was dark, almost completely dark, but not quite. A small light, maybe from a phone screen or a night light, glowed in the far corner. I pressed my face closer to the grate, trying to see details. My eyes adjusted to the darkness. I could make out shapes. The workbench where it had always been. The weight rack. The movement. In the corner. Someone was down there. I squinted, held my breath, and that's when I saw him. My son, Marcus. sitting on the concrete floor in the corner of his own basement, knees pulled to his chest, head down. And around his ankle, I saw it. A metal chain. Heavy chain, the kind used for securing equipment or livestock. It ran from his leg to a support beam in the center of the basement. My son was chained up like an animal in his own house while his in-laws partied upstairs. Everything inside me went cold, then hot, then cold again. My hand started shaking. I wanted to smash through that window, rip that chain off, carry my boy out of there. But 40 years of careful work taught me something. Rage without planning is just destruction. I needed to think, needed to understand what was happening, needed evidence, needed help. I pulled out my phone and took pictures through the window. The flash was off, but the image quality wasn't great. You could see a figure, but not details. I took a dozen shots from different angles. Then I carefully, quietly, backed away from the window, moved along the side of the house toward the front yard. My mind was racing. Call the police? Break down the door? But what if there was more to this than I understood? What if Marcus was in danger that would get worse if I acted rashly? I needed to see his face. Needed to know if he was hurt. Needed to make contact. I circled back to the basement window, knelt down again, tapped very softly on the metal grate with my knuckle. 3 quiet taps. The figure in the corner didn't move. I tapped again, slightly louder. Marcus's head lifted. He turned toward the window. In the dim light, I could see his face. Gaunt, unshaven. His left eye was swollen shut. His lip was split. He looked like he'd been beaten. Our eyes met through the grate. I saw shock, then recognition, then horror. His mouth moved. I couldn't hear through the window and the music upstairs, but I could read his lips. Dad, no. Get out. Run. I shook my head. I pulled out my phone, held it up so he could see. Mouth, I'm calling police. He shook his head violently. His hands came up, waving me off. He mouthed something else. They'll kill me. They'll kill you. Go. Please. Go. I stare at my son. My boy. Chained in a basement, beaten, terrified. Warning me away. And I understood. This wasn't just wrong. This was organized. Planned. The party upstairs, the people I didn't recognize, the rearranged furniture, the missing photos. Richard Clark standing in that kitchen like he owned it. Derek with his papers spread on the table. This wasn't a domestic dispute. This was something else. Something calculated. I held up my phone again. Mouth, trust me. Then I backed away from the window, stood up, and walked quickly toward the front of the house. My truck was still parked 3 houses down. I got in, started the engine, and drove away. But I wasn't going home. Not even close. I was going to get help. Real help. The kind that could match whatever Richard Clark and his family were planning. Because whatever was happening in that house, it had been organized by people with money and power and connections. I was just a retired carpenter. But I was also a father. And I'd spent 68 years in Seattle building relationships with people who owed me favors. It was time to call them in. I drove straight to Terry Sullivan's house in Greenwood. It was 11:30 at night, but Terry had told me 100 times, Rob, you need anything, anytime, you call me. Day or night. Terry Sullivan was a detective with Seattle PD. Homicide Division, 25 years on the force. I'd built his deck 10 years ago, refused payment because he'd helped my neighbor's kid when he got mixed up with the wrong crowd. Terry insisted on paying. I insisted on friendship. We've been close ever since. His porch light was on. I knocked firmly. Lights came on inside. The door opened. Terry stood there in his bathrobe, gray hair sticking up, glasses on. Rob, what the hell? I need your help. Right now. My son is in trouble. Terry's face changed immediately. All business. Come in. His wife, Margaret, appeared at the top of the stairs. Robert? Is everything okay? Go back to bed, hon, Terry said. Police business. She disappeared. Terry led me to his kitchen, put coffee on without asking. Sat across from me at his table. Talk to me. I told him everything. The phone call in October. Marcus's fear. The text tonight. Driving to the house. The party upstairs. Marcus chained in the basement, beaten, terrified. Warning me away. Terry listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and whistled low. Rob, that's kidnapping. False imprisonment. Assault. This is serious. I know it's serious. I need you to tell me what to do. I can't just call 911. Marcus was terrified. Said they'd kill him if I interfered. These are connected people, Terry. Vanessa's father is Richard Clark. Commercial real estate. Old money. Terry's expression darkened. Richard Clark. I know that name. He's got friends. Lawyers. Judges. Not someone you want to piss off without a solid plan. I have pictures. Not great quality, but you can see someone chained up in that basement. I pulled out my phone, showed him. Terry studied the images, zooming in, squinting. This could be anyone. Court would say it's too dark to identify, but combined with your testimony. He thought for a moment. Rob, I can't officially act on this without going through channels. If I do, and Clark has the connections I think he does, he'll know we're coming. Could put Marcus in more danger. My stomach dropped. So we do nothing? I didn't say that. Terry's eyes met mine. I said I can't act officially, but I know someone who can help us build a case fast. Someone who owes me a favor and doesn't give a damn about Richard Clark's connections. Who? Jennifer Watts. She's an investigator. Private. Former FBI. She specializes in domestic cases with powerful defendants. Rich husbands abusing wives, family financial crimes, the stuff that gets swept under the rug because money talks. She's expensive, but she's good. And she hates bullies. Can you call her now? It's almost midnight, Rob. My son is chained in a basement. Terry picked up his phone. Jennifer Watts arrived at Terry's house at 1:15 a.m. She was younger than I expected, maybe 45, dark hair pulled back, sharp eyes that missed nothing. She carried a leather bag and moved like someone who'd been woken up in the middle of the night before. Terry made introductions. Jennifer, this is Robert Chun. Rob, Jennifer Watts. We shook hands. Her grip was firm. Detective Sullivan says your son is in immediate danger. Tell me everything. I went through it again. Third time now. Each telling made it feel more surreal. Marcus chained up. The party. The Clarks acting like they own the place. Jennifer listened, taking notes on a legal pad. When I finished, she asked questions. Rapid fire, specific. How long have Marcus and Vanessa been married? 3 years. Almost exactly. Any children? No. Does Marcus have significant assets? Savings, investments, property? The house is worth about $900,000 now. He put down $200 cash, has a mortgage for the rest. He's got retirement accounts, stock options for Microsoft. Maybe another $300,000 there. And he inherited money when my wife died. $50,000. Jennifer's pen moved. So roughly $1.2 million in total assets, mostly tied up in the house and retirement accounts. I guess. I don't know exact numbers. Does Vanessa work? She did. Marketing job. But she quit about a year ago. Said she was starting a consulting business, but I don't think she ever did. So Marcus is the sole income. What does he make? Around $200,000 a year, I think. Maybe more with bonuses. Jennifer exchanged a look with Terry. This fits a pattern. Wealthy family marries their daughter to a high-earning man with significant assets. 3 years is important. In Washington state, after 3 years of marriage, property division and divorce gets more complicated. Community property rules solidify. You think they're planning to divorce him? I think they're planning something worse. Jennifer leaned forward. Robert, in my experience, when someone is held captive in their own home by their in-laws, it's usually about two things: money and control. They need something from Marcus. Something he won't give willingly. So they're forcing him. Like what? Signature. Access to accounts. Property transfer. Maybe they want him to sign over the house. Maybe they want him to change his will or his beneficiaries. Maybe they've forged documents and need him to validate them somehow. Without seeing the situation directly, I can't be sure. But that's the usual pattern. My hands clenched into fists. So what do? We gather evidence. Solid evidence. Photos through a dark window won't hold up in court, especially against the Clark's lawyers. We need to see inside that house. Record what's happening. Ideally, get Marcus's testimony on camera. Then we bring it to the authorities with an airtight case they can't dismiss. How do we do that? The house is full of people. And if Marcus was right, if they're willing to kill him, they won't hesitate to hurt anyone who interferes. Jennifer smiled. It was a nice smile. That's why you hired me, Robert. I've done this before. Let me make some calls. Detective Sullivan, I'll need your unofficial assistance. Terry nodded. You got it. Robert, go home. Get some rest. Be ready to move tomorrow. Thanksgiving Day. The party they're having? That's an opportunity. Lots of people, lots of chaos, lots of distractions. We'll use that. I'm not leaving my son. You're not. Jennifer's voice was firm. But you crashing in there tonight, alone, with no backup and no plan? That gets you and Marcus both killed. Trust me, we do this smart or we don't do it all. I wanted to argue. Wanted to drive back to that house right now and break down the door. But I'd lived 68 years by learning when to listen to people who knew better than me. Okay, I said. What time tomorrow? I'll call you by noon. Be ready to move fast. I drove home, but I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I sat in my workshop with every light on, staring at the workbench where Marcus and I had built his first birdhouse when he was 7 years old. That little boy with sawdust in his hair and pride on his face. Now he was chained in a basement. At 4:30 a.m., I gave up on sleep. Made coffee. Strong. I pulled out my laptop and started searching. Richard Clark. Patricia Clark. Derek Clark. Richard had his own Wikipedia page. Clark Commercial Properties. Founded 1987. Worth an estimated $40 million. Board member of various Seattle organizations. Photo showed a man in his 60s, silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. I searched for Richard Clark and lawsuit. Pages of results. He'd been sued multiple times. Real estate disputes, contract violations, wrongful termination. Every case had been settled out of court. Money making problems disappear. Derek Clark was easier to research. Attorney profile on his firm's website. Specializations. Estate planning, trust management, asset protection. I clicked through his publications. He'd written articles about protecting wealth from predatory divorce settlements and optimizing inheritance structures. Predatory divorce settlements. The words made my stomach turn. I found Vanessa's LinkedIn profile. She'd been a marketing manager at a mid-sized firm. Quit 14 months ago. Nothing since. Her profile photo showed her at some charity event, arm around Marcus, both smiling. He looked happy in that photo. When was it taken? I checked the date. 2 years ago, before she quit her job, before the Clarks started taking over the house. My phone rang at 7:15 a.m. Jennifer Watts. Robert, I've been making calls. I have a team ready. We're going in today at 3 p.m. Here's what I need you to do. She laid out the plan. I listened, took notes, asked questions. It was risky, possibly illegal, definitely dangerous. Can you do it? She asked when she finished. For my son, I'd do anything. Good. Meet me at the Starbucks on 45th and Stoneway at 2 p.m. Don't be late. And Robert? Don't contact Marcus. Don't do anything to tip them off. This only works if they think they're safe. Understood. I hung up and looked at the clock. 7:17 a.m. Almost 8 hours until the meeting. 16 hours since I'd seen my son chained in that basement. I went back to my workshop and started gathering tools. If Jennifer's plan worked, we'd need them. If it didn't, well, I'd need them even more. Thanksgiving morning was cold and gray. Appropriate weather for what I was about to do. I showered, dressed in my good clothes. Khakis, button-down shirt, the nice fleece jacket Linda had bought me before she got sick. I wanted to look like a grandfather coming to Thanksgiving dinner, not a man planning a rescue operation. At 2 p.m. exactly, I pulled into the Starbucks parking lot. Jennifer's car was already there, a black SUV with tinted windows. I parked next to her and got in the passenger seat. Ready? She asked. As I'll ever be. In the back seat were 2 other people. A man, maybe 30, with tech equipment, and a woman about Jennifer's age, fit, alert, eyes that said law enforcement or military. This is David and Sarah, Jennifer said. David handles surveillance. Sarah's my security. Both ex-FBI. I nodded to them. They nodded back. Professional. Serious. Jennifer pulled out a tablet, showed me a map of Marcus's neighborhood. Here's the plan. We know from your description that they're having a Thanksgiving party. 4 o'clock arrival time. That means by 3, they'll be busy with final preparations. The kitchen will be chaos. People moving around. Perfect time to slip in. Slip in how? The doors will be locked. Not all of them. David leaned forward. Rich people who throw parties? They always prop open a side door or garage for catering, guests, deliveries. Creates a security vulnerability. We'll exploit that. Jennifer continued. You're going to knock on the front door at exactly 3:15. Early, but not suspicious. You're the eager grandfather who couldn't wait. They'll let you in because causing a scene with neighbors watching would be bad optics. Once you're inside, your job is to keep them distracted. Front of the house. Make conversation. Be difficult to get rid of. While you're doing that, David, Sarah, and I go in through whatever access point we find. We'll have body cameras recording everything. We get to the basement, document Marcus's condition, get his testimony on video, and get out. What do they try to stop you? Sarah spoke for the first time. Her voice was flat, certain. They won't. Because they won't know we're there until it's too late. I looked at these three professionals. Jennifer Watts, who'd built a career taking down powerful abusers. David and Sarah, who moved and talked like people who'd seen real danger. Then I looked at my own hands. Carpenter's hands. Calloused and scarred from 68 years of honest work. I'm not good at lying, I said. Never have been. They'll see right through me. Jennifer smiled. Robert, you're not going to lie. You're going to do exactly what you'd normally do. Show up to Thanksgiving dinner. Be yourself. A father who loves his son and wants to spend the holiday with family. That's not a lie. That's the truth. And the best distractions are always true. At 3:10 p.m., I pulled onto Marcus's street for the second time in less than 24 hours. This time in daylight. This time with backup somewhere behind me. The street was lined with cars. The Clark's party was already in full swing. I could see people through the windows. Movement. Laughter. The normalcy of it made me sick. I parked directly in front of the house. Grabbed the bag from my passenger seat. Inside was the cranberry orange relish I'd made at 5 a.m., unable to sleep, needing to do something with my hands. Linda's recipe. Marcus's favorite. If I was going to play the part of the devoted grandfather, I'd play it right. I walked up the front steps. Knocked on the door. The door Marcus had refinished himself. That beautiful oak door with the brass knocker we'd installed together. 30 seconds. The door opened. Vanessa stood there. She looked perfect. Black dress, pearls, hairstyled, makeup flawless. The picture of a successful hostess. Robert, surprise in her voice. Real surprise. What are you doing here? Marcus texted you. He's sick. I know, but I thought I'd bring some food anyway. My cranberry relish. He loves it. I held up the bag. Just want to drop it off. Make sure he's okay. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Calculating. Behind her, I could see the party. 20 people at least. Well-dressed. Laughing. Music playing. The smell of roasted turkey. That's very sweet, but Marcus is sleeping. He's been throwing up all day. Really contagious. You should go home. We'll make sure he gets the relish. I didn't move. I'd really like to see him. Just for a minute. I promise I won't stay long. Robert, he's sleeping. Then I'll wait until he wakes up. I'm his father. It's Thanksgiving. Her smile tightened. I understand, but... Vanessa? Who's at the door? Richard Clark appeared behind her. He had a drink in one hand. Saw me. His smile was all teeth, no warmth. Robert, what a surprise. Marcus didn't mention you were coming. He told me not to. Said he was sick, but I wanted to check on him. Devoted father. That's wonderful. Richard's tone said it wasn't wonderful at all. Unfortunately, Marcus is really under the weather. Wouldn't want you to catch anything. You know how these stomach bugs are. I looked past them into the house. All those people, eating Marcus's food, drinking from Marcus's bar, celebrating in the house he'd saved for, bought, renovated, while he was chained in the basement below their feet. I'd still like to see him. Just for a minute. Richard and Vanessa exchange a glance. Quick, meaningful.